Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today in this video I'm going to be changing the oil and shaft drive oil on the Honda ST1300. Now, one thing I'm going to ask you guys is hit that subscribe button and like. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. Most people that watch the channel do not subscribe, so just hit that subscribe button and that's it. Thanks for watching, and let's get started on changing the oil on the Honda ST1300. First thing you want to do is run the bike for a few minutes and get it nice and warm so the oil flows freely. It's warm enough and we're ready to start this procedure. Things I learned is that you want to put a piece of plastic underneath, and of course you're going to need a drain pan. Take a 17 millimeter counterclockwise. Now that'll be coming out, and to see if there's any metal shavings in the actual oil. This bike is not like the CRF 250 that doesn't use a lot of oil. It's quite a bit. It's a little bit on the yellow side, so that's good that we're removing it. On the right side you have this that we're going to have to remove. I'm just going to pop this out. You could just use a regular screwdriver or something to push this pin in and then remove it. There we go. Piece of plastic. And now you have this cover. This is the right cylinder cover. You're going to push this out. It should come out. There we go. What do is clean this drain plug in the surrounding area just in case something falls in. It's always good to have. Much easier. There we go. There's something. Remove that. Put the filler aside, and I'm just going to take my cloth, try to get rid of all the debris around the hole. Don't want anything falling into this engine. So I finished draining the oil. You see it's still trickling a bit, but now we have to remove the oil filter. For the oil filter, I have one of these wrenches. I don't know if there's the size to it. There's usually something written down, but I don't know. This one fits in the oil filter. Then I have a wrench and a little bit of an extension, and we're going to get this. But before we do that, we're going to put something on the bottom part where the oil is, because I don't want to have to remove this piece of plastic. That's the plastic normally most ST owners remove to get to it. I don't want to do that. This aluminum foil underneath it, just to catch whatever oil and keep it away from the underside of the bike. We're going to put the kickstand down because first I'm going to fit my oil wrench and I'm going to loosen it up. The oil wrench, now it's on the filter. I'm going to use my extension, see if I can get in there. Trying to kind of feel for it because you can't see it, but it's very easy to get to. There we go. So the oil filter was very loose. I was wondering why there was like some oil leaking, and here we go. It's like coming off over here. Really get the oil with my drain pan is too wide, so I'm just going to, with my hand, loosen up the oil filter, and it's kind of coming out. The oil doesn't look too clean. Hey, it actually came out this time. That's funny. All right, so this is the big mess I created here. I'm going to remove my mess. I'm trying to see if I can. Luckily, there's not a lot of oil left in here, but that's the reason I put that on there. So the reason you want to use the aluminum foil is that you divert the oil away from the bike. So put that aside, and now we're going to get a new oil filter. This is the oil I use on all my bikes. It's Rotella T6. You can pick the 1540 or 1535, whatever, but the T6 I use it on all my bikes. I've got no issues. And the filter I'm using is the PL 14610 by Purolator. So let's go ahead and get that going. After you let this drain, After you let it drain, of course, you want to put your drain plug back on there. And you want to be careful not to strip this. In the beginning, when I was first riding, I did strip my first few bikes. So, always important. Don't use too much leverage. The filter I chose, I've used this successfully many times. This is the Purolator PL14610. But this is important. Just take some of the old oil and put it on the seal here. And we're ready to put this back on our bike. One thing that helps is writing down with a Sharpie or something the mileage on the bike. So right now mine is at 36.5, and then write down the date, October 20. Let's figure out where it is. And you see where I'm putting my hand, kind of just doing this, looking for the threads. And once you get the threads, there we go, kind of felt going in. You can't do it anymore. What you want to do is hand tighten oil filters. And once it firms up a bit, that's all you need, like that. And now I'm just going to hit the side here, and that's the oil filter. And we're pretty much done with plugging everything. Now we're going to add the oil funnel. But on this bike, it's hard to do it with one hand because this is not good enough. So what I'll do is I'll just take some sort of tie. Normally you can kind of fit something through here. There we go. That's a lot better. So now you don't have to really hold it. Approaching the end of adding your oil, you want to be careful not to overfill. The way you do that, you fill it up, let it settle down for a minute or two, and then look in the sight glass at the bottom. On the ST1300, it's got an oil sight glass right over there, and I see it. It's actually above the upper mark, but that's okay because I haven't started the bike. Once we start it, run it for a few seconds, turn it off, it should resettle, and usually it's a little bit lower down. So let's go ahead and start the bike. Let it run for a bit. Make sure the oil light comes on and then disappears. This one has. So I turned it off, and now I'm going to let the bike settle for a bit. A little bit more. There we go. Let it fully drain the contents there. The trick to getting this thing in there is that this clips onto the side here, and then that goes in. And just kind of push it in. Push it back, and there we go. Just clean the cylinders. Now we're going to put this bit of plastic. This is an aftermarket thing. It keeps everything away from the rider. That's the oil change on the Honda ST1300. And now we're going to change the rear drive oil. It's a little bit difficult with the exhaust in the way, but I want to show you this. They're both 17 millimeters. You have the drain, you have the fill. The way most of these systems works is there's no sight glass. You remove this, let it drain, and then you fill it here until this overflows, and that's when you know that there's enough fluid. So what we're going to do is actually going to put something here, because oil from here will get into the wheel, and we want to keep that from happening. I place my plastic bag here. That's going to keep things from going to my wheel. Just crack that open. Once it comes out, just get ready to, and I dropped it in there. This is very stinky oil, and it looks pretty dirty, so glad I changed it. Same size. I've had bikes that use different sizes. It's very annoying. There we go. Make sure the O-ring is good. No oil should really come out of there. Just let this drain for a while, a couple of minutes. This also has a washer. It's called a crush washer. So you should not reuse these. You should get a new one. Some people do reuse them, me included. I haven't had like a lot of issues with it. Just make sure that it's in good shape. Replace it if you need to, and that's it. Refit this just in the bottom one. This is very soft metal as well, so don't over torque it when you're tightening it. And not too much. Now clean this, because one of the things I'll do when I'm first doing this is make sure that's not leaking while I ride, so I'll make sure I clean the hell out of it. And now we're going to take our, hopefully you have the right gear oil. This calls for 80, and you just have to be in the range. So this one for example is 75 weight, 90. I have this one which is 85, 140, so that obviously would not work. Don't use this one. So this one, 75 to 140, should work. That's in the range. One of the things I've found is that if you use a hose like this, put it into your little thing here, it'll be much easier to fill. So I'm just going to put it into the hole, turn this, and there goes the oil. And that's it. You see how it's like trickling out? And that's pretty much how you do the shaft drive oil on this bike. It's pretty simple. And then give it a little tug. Just clean everything, because now we're going to go for a ride and see if there's any leakage. These are very similar. I would suggest taking the bike for a spin and then rechecking the oil. Make sure there's no leaks coming from the shaft drive and from the bottom of the engine. I always do that just to make sure that there's no slipping anywhere. But if you enjoyed this video, found it educational, make sure you hit like, subscribe. It really helps us out. And I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So hopefully I can get that done. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next video.